Ah, another episode of the Epic Show with my guest running late. I thought I would start a little bit to not have anybody, the punctuality of if we said that the show runs at a certain time, we do that. So while I've got a little bit of time, that I'm waiting for my guest, something just crossed my mind the other day when I was having a chat with my talent agent slash friend and business partner, where we've now taken on this venture where I have now managed to get everything I needed to get together in regards to my business. And it gives me time to now have someone such as her in my life of a talent agent to assist me with getting my brand out there to help youngsters and help people go through dealing with the journey that I've gone through. And the other day, her and I were having a chat, and I said to her, regardless of if I wrote my book for it to become a business in regards to sales, because many of these guys that come out and they do this motivational stuff, they've got this concept of pushing everything towards book sales so they've got money and they say they're there to essentially help people. And to me, what I said to her essentially was that I had to write the book for me. At the time, I was dealing with going through my late best friend's passing. I was dealing with a complete transformation of who I was to who I am, where many people are still stuck in the past. And I often find it's the bad mindset loser people that refuse to ever assist others. Such as someone I know who I used to help growing up. He couldn't even greet me when he saw me today outside the Apple store, while his brother greeted me. It's always going to be those people that are not going to assist you on your journey. They're always going to remember you for who you were, which in my case, I've got it plenty times of who I was and who I am. Many, many fake people. And, in line with the conversation I was having with my talent agent, and our other partner was there. And he told me, and it's something that stuck with me for about a couple of days now, is regardless of what they think or feel or say, the only way to deal with it is through laughter and happiness for you to carry on your journey that you were on. And he's right. He's really right. I did a post a while back, and I was like being a little bit cocky and funny and witty at the same time, where I said, it has come to my attention that I have offended. I'm just reading it. It has come to my attention that I have offended some people on my journey, and I really have got to say I'm sorry, as my intention was to offend every last one of you nosy fuckers, not just some. I promise to do better in the future and offend all of you. And at the time for me when I did that post, it just felt right because it was me being me with my witty attitude and my I don't care what the haters think. And at the same time, hey, it's hey, just is what I felt. And obviously, as we evolve through life, which I have, not certain about everybody, I don't really have much of that stance anymore. I don't have that stance of if I've offended people, who cares? If people don't like me, who cares? If people remember me for who I was and not who I am, who cares. I don't per se portray that sort of emotional concern anymore towards any of that. And I think maybe it was something that I read in Dalai Lama's book, where it becomes about the enlightenment journey, where if you even care of such things, you are not in a happy, good place. And, as I said, I feel that I have gotten to that place now where for me, it's actually a matter of I deal with it all through love and happiness and laughter. Whatever your opinions of me are or others, they are yours. I'm happy for you. I'm sure we can crack a joke and laugh about the things that I've done in the past or they have done, and just deal with it all with laughter. Just deal with this whole world and everything that you're going through on this journey, which is so short, with laughter. I remember many days of being sad and upset and depressed and emotional and in a bad mood. And that is why when I now sit with people, what they get from me is a lot of wittiness and jokes and humor, because it is just the way to deal with this life. They say that it's difficult to think. That's why most rather judge. And then on the other side, you've got the saying of, well, but again, a lion does not turn around when a dog barks. So ignore anyone who speaks of another as is the lowest form of a subhuman. But why? Why would you even give any form of energy towards even thinking that or considering that or even having any kind of I don't think the word consideration towards any kind of answer towards how they feel is even the right way to phrase it. I think the best way to say it is you have to work to get to a point in life to become an internal state of existence, understanding that the world external is not life, that life is internal and everything flows internally outwards, thus carry somewhat of an indifference rather than a response or a feeling or an emotion towards anything that anybody else has ever had to say. Yeah, I just thought maybe I would put that little bit of motivation out, because, we've got into this world where things are just different. Everything is different. And everybody's trying to make an impact and everybody's trying to be different and big. And, for me, I've got into a point where for me, it's about that. It's not about living forever, but it's about living with yourself forever in this world, which is still the same size, but there just is less excitement in it. And I like to treat the world as it is. So, with that said, let me get my guest on. Let me jump him onto the studio. My good friend Ronaldo in his lovely red Adidas shirt there. What's happening, Ronaldo?
Brother, how are you doing? You good? It's,
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful.
oh man,
as
it's
as I
so
was running
amazing
the
to see you.
show, it's always amazing to see good people, my brother. Yeah. So tell
I
me
heard,
what's happening.
yeah, I heard your the prologue that you did there, if that is what we want to call it. And I love the fact that you make us aware of the fact that it is only when we know thyself, basically, in the greater scheme of
Yeah.
things, that we really understand, what our value is and what we contribute. I think I've met a lot of people that don't necessarily even consider the idea that they are one decision away of influencing either the rest of their lives alongside other people's lives by making or not making that decision. And I think understanding who you are, knowing what you stand for, where you come from, and why you are who you are, with all of our complexities, at the end of the day, obviously, yeah, provides us with that belonging. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, thanks for that. And I think with that being said, I think it's been a
Beautiful
busy
comeback
2 days.
from
Yeah.
your side as well. Beautiful, my brother. Beautiful. Well, look, as you know, like you asked me, what are we going to talk about on this show? And I never really even actually considered this a show. I kind of think of it as like a video phone call between me and friends where we
Yeah.
just somewhat talk. And that is why I've never really had this perception of writing a script and telling guys to stay within line. And I've told everybody to speak as they speak, and everything just always comes to mind based on how I'm feeling at the moment, same as you as the guests. And today I just thought I would somewhat go for that because, today I was walking out of the Apple store. No, I was walking
Yeah.
past. I saw a guy that I know that when he was growing up, I looked after him hundreds of times and helped him many times. And his brother said hello to me while he looked away. And, in my mind, I just thought to myself, I don't find myself in a position in life anymore where I even have an opinion about it. I don't even think that, oh, whatever, who cares what he thinks, or another hater, or maybe he's heard something from me by somebody who I didn't get along with. And then I just kind of somewhat found myself in this position where I just thought, hey, he chose to be that, and that just is who he is. And I am who I am, and life carries on. And he walked in the other way, and I walked in the other way. And I've just gotten to, I wouldn't say enlightened, but I think I'm close with all these monk books that I'm reading, where you just somewhat at some age, I think it's actually maturity. At
Yeah.
some level in life and maturity, where anything that's happening in the external world, exactly like you said, thyself, it no longer actually affects you. What's happening in the external world is happening. What's happening with you is happening. And you somehow do what you need to do to a situation as it happens, and you just carry on. And I don't know if that is a form of maturity that I'm starting to find myself in, or that just is, I don't know, my brother. You give me your take on it. I found
What?
it's the first time I've actually found myself in that position in life. He didn't greet me, and I just thought to myself, water off a duck's back.
What's interesting, I think, about that entire scenario is that you mentioned earlier on that, there's been a couple of times that yourself and him had interactions and you kind of helped either him or his brother. And I think you did it out of the genuineness of your I think your heart, the purity that's there. And because your intentions when you are doing stuff for people is pure, and I'm speculating that everyone in the world has got pure intentions, but majority of people have got pure intentions. But if you have that approach, when people do not reciprocate things to you, it does not affect you because your initial thought process was never to gain something back out of it. So that's why it was easy for you to be, listen, actually, you know what? I'm okay, because not even once while he was not reciprocating all of this did I lose anything. So I think it's a level of maturity that you reach, and I think it's a lot of heartache that I think we go through. I think we're disappointed a lot by other people. I think our expectations are quite high. The other day, I read something interesting about expectations. Expectations are, and this one guy, I don't exactly know what his name was that wrote the quote, but he went on about saying that the reason why we are disappointed in people or by people is because we expect a lot, and because we expect a lot, we want to give a lot, and so we can't believe that someone else doesn't want to give a lot. Like, dude, I literally would give my life for you, and you just say, okay, that's nothing. So I think that essence of I'm willing to give everything is what drives our disappointment a lot of times. And so back to why it's like, just water off your back is because you've grown, I mean, a thick layer of resistance. And that's what I want to call it, resistance to the outside
Yeah.
world. That resistance of, yes, they might not reciprocate what I put out into the world. Yes, they might not appreciate who I am, but I appreciate who I am. And because I have built the resistance, I've got all this feathers that are protecting me and shielding me. And that's why we got them eagles. We don't fly here below the radar. We're right there above everything else. And it's not because you think you're a high roller, but it's because you know what it is like to fly at an altitude that is so difficult to fly at. And because you've got a thick skin, thick layer, that's why. Here's a
You've
different.
worked, you've gone through it. You've worked
Yeah.
it to get to that altitude.
And it's difficult to explain. And I think that's the one thing that I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of events. I speak, to a lot of sports teams. I do a lot of work with corporates and stuff. And the one thing that I struggle sometimes to communicate to them effectively is the experience of something. I can never explain, or I can never teach you experience. I can give you all of the steps. I can give you all of the great motivations and all of that. But I cannot teach you the experience that you need of a specific emotion, life event, action. I cannot do that for you. You've got to go do that.
How to be in that exact situation. I swear, my brother, and I was thinking the other day, what is the actual basis of experience? The actual core basis of experience is that when you're in a situation, you know how to deal with it on an emotional level to drive towards the results that you want. Now, in your first 5 or 6 times that you may have done something, people often panic, people overthink, people don't really analyze the situation properly, the goalpost changes. I think the actual fine, definitive way of explaining experience is, hey, I've done this. I know how to deal with this. Done. It's not a big story. It's not a big program. It's not a big confusion. It's just that I have somewhat been down this road.
Yeah.
I know how to walk it. And the beauty of it is that if the road has changed on this occasion, you don't panic. You've done this road. New stones on the road, kick it aside, carry on. I think that is, I was thinking of this the other day with experience. I was like literally thinking, how are certain things that certain people do? They are so calm and they just go, they just do it. They even look like they're not even overthinking it. They just do it. And I think it's exactly like you said. It's just some guys have been through it. They know what to do when it comes up.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own demons and to face yourself.
Big. I believe facing yourself is even harder than facing your demons. This is what a lot of people couldn't deal with during COVID. A lot of people would go and mask dealing with themselves by going out, drinking, partying, taking drugs, and doing everything rather than sitting and dealing with themselves. And what happened during the COVID era, the world went on lockdown where we threw people into rooms and said, there's no distraction, deal with yourself. And a lot of people are still struggling with that. They still haven't got over it.
And I thoroughly hope that for the ones that will tune in and listen on whatever platform they get to, really maybe give us some of their thoughts and feedback as to what and why they think we weren't able to deal with it. Is it because we were not distracted as a society, but because we were never allowed to deal with ourselves? and I use the word allowed because and back to a couple of weeks ago where we spoke about certain control measures and things being put in place by powers that be. I really would like people to just give us a bit of their thoughts as to why is it so difficult for the human being to face themselves, especially when the reason for you facing yourself will only be to better yourself and understand yourself. What is it that scares us so much about ourselves? Like what is it? Like is it the fact that, and I think a lot of people have discovered this, when you know yourself, you are actually becoming limitless. You don't have don't you don't I wouldn't say don't care, but you really start to graft hard and you become silent. And I know it's ironic for us to say this because we are chatting to each other, but I realized in a lot of
But
your
it,
things, yeah,
but you know what?
you do, yeah,
But you know what? It's actually funny because when it comes to interaction between two guys such as ourselves, we are talking.
yeah,
But I promise you, when you and I are in a room with other people, I've watched you when you and I have been out, the same as you've watched me. We are the quiet guys. When it comes to these kind of, let's have a little
yeah,
chat and call it our little YouTube show, we will talk. But in the bigger scheme of things, when there are a lot of people around us and there's a world happening around us, and you know the thing, I've spoken to my brother about this, and we did an episode I think a few weeks ago where we said that, to me, we don't all live in this one metaphysical universe and we're all
yeah,
just coexisting. I believe that we're all our own metaphysical existence, and everybody literally is the center of their own universe, and we're
yeah,
constantly just clashing into different spaces amongst each other. So when it comes down to, and this is what I like to believe for me, and it's worked, is when I am within my realm of reality, which is this: you and I
yeah,
were friends, I will speak, I will engage, I will have opinions, I will have thoughts, I will have things to say. But when it comes to that, I'm in a situation where I have numerous people around me and I've now got their worlds in my space. My brother, like I said, I've watched you, the same as me. We go quiet because now we're trying to actually extract from those other worlds that have now come into our little realm, where we're now trying to listen to see what it is that he's saying. Is it of value? Okay, there's something there. Is that of value? Is there something there? You know, when I was younger, and I'm going to say this one even with no offense, is that I would often get asked, like I would be out and people would look at me and say, "Why do you look so upset?" And I would think to
oh,
myself, sorry, I'm not really per se upset. I'm just in my own world right now."
yeah,
Because for the first 10, 15 minutes of me in that engagement of environment, I had already decided where I need to be in this. And a lot of times I would find myself that I don't want to be in this. So let me rather go internal and deal with all of this internal. And I just somewhat zone out of what's happening around me. And a lot of people would think that I would look upset, and I would just be like, no, um, yeah, I heard you guys speaking for the first 5 minutes, and that's just not for me. So I'm here. You guys do you. I will be here. I'll be doing my thing. That conversation is not for me.
so
And
but brother Rez, just tell me on that though, so take us through that. Do you think that you've over the years mastered the art of knowing when to speak and when to be quiet, or do you think that you were born with it? And I specifically want us to speak about this because it leads us to the idea of what does it mean to be a metaphysical being, like what does that construct look like?
my brother, to me, I can't say I was born with it, because many times I opened my mouth at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I would often find that it would have something to do with substances I was on at the time,
Yeah,
because my mind just wanted to throw something out without thinking, and it would get me in a lot of trouble. I would say maybe it's somewhat of something I've learned over time, brother, that
yeah,
there's just certain things that are just not for you. You know, I often find, you know, like even in like a scenario where we will be sitting amongst friends at a table, and all of a sudden one friend would go off with another friend and they would start talking about business or somewhat something that I don't want to know. I find myself in a situation where I actually tell them, "Excuse me, guys, I'm just going to go to the toilet." I don't even want to
And I
actually
love that.
know. I don't want to know your business, somewhat of what you're talking. Even in the same manner of when people start bad mouthing each other and this guy did this or that or that, I somewhat just think to myself, this, I'll see you guys. You guys deal with this. I'm not going to be here for this. I don't want to know your business. I don't want to know your secrets. I don't want to know your things. I don't want you later on to say that if your secrets got out, it had anything to do with me. If you recall, I walked out of even when you guys started speaking. And I think that's just an experience thing, brother, where you actually start learning where to position yourself,
Yeah,
where to put your foot in.
yeah.
Certain stuff, whoa. Guys, I don't want to hear that. That's I'm happy for you guys. Whatever you guys did, however much taxes you guys stole, keep well. I'm going to the toilet. This is not even for me. I don't
and,
want to hear this.
and oftentimes you would find yourself. Sometimes they say that wherever you walk, you leave a footprint. You can't deny that. So if you walk closer to anything, you must know whether that thing is good or bad. The fact that you were in the vicinity means that people will be like, oh, but okay, let's ask the bystanders. If you're a bloody bystander, you've got to give an account, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Your footprints are right there. So I love staying away from things. And I think same as you, and you've rightfully mentioned that it's been years of going through a lot of the turmoil of, um, yeah, having friends that, I don't even have to tell you this, but I think we've had people that you trusted, you loved, you cared about, literally use things that are not even remotely about you, and then they try and not destroy you, but they try and badmouth you. And the problem of and again, that's what I want to know about the realities is that in someone else's reality, you're a villain. You
Yeah,
are
you're
the
always gonna
biggest
be.
villain that exists. And
You're gonna be because they have to
yeah,
glorify themselves. Every movie has Superman and
yeah,
Kryptonite.
the villain.
Every
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. No, it's crazy. But do you then think back to the idea of the realities that exist? Do you think that the children that will come, I mean, the amount of realities that we have to face currently, and the stuff in society that we have to face, do you think that the generations to come will even remotely care about these things? Or do you think they will just live as individual beings that just don't care about the world, don't care about the consequences? Or do you think we'll become a lot more conscientious, a lot more responsive? In I think, yeah, you know what I mean.
You know what? Funny enough, I was having this chat and I had never heard of this term until this day because now I've started working with a creative agent and a talent
Yeah,
agent where they're now trying to position me to have more engagement in helping youngsters and entrepreneurs, which was never of a focus for me back in the days. For me, it was just about let me do my posts, let me get my name out there. People know that this is what I do. I've turned my life
yeah.
around. And and I heard this term called the attention economy. Do you know that the attention economy is $1 trillion business now? It has literally become how to tap into the cognitive bias of people to get them attention, to feel important without doing anything. And in that manner of the relevance to your question, which I'm going to do a little loop as well back to it. I think I was flying back to South Africa about 2 months ago, 2 3 months, no, 2 months ago. And while I was sitting there, I was waiting. You know, while you're waiting for the plane to board, you'll see
Yeah,
very
yeah,
different, numerous amounts of people. And I started somewhat analyzing the difference in economy class people and business class people as a whole. And you will find the most fascinating thing if you watch these guys. It's not about money. It's actually not about money. It's that certain characteristics of people that will put themselves in a situation that will allow them to afford a business class flight compared to the people that have become somewhat complacent to never being able to afford the business class flight, comes that barrier of you finding a larger amount of people that have somewhat said, this is me. I will always fly economy for the rest of my life, and I will never get out of this. And I will always focus more on this external existence, and I will work a 9 to 5 to pay my expenses. I will care what other people think. I will worry about that. I will worry about this. Where if you look at the guys in business class, and I promise you, it's really not even. Some of the guys even dress worse, the guys flying business class, than the guys in economy. They don't even look like it's about actual money. It's the certain mindset that you will see people that have elevated themselves to be at a higher level, is that they fully have become focused on their doing, on their things, on what they need to do, on what they need to focus on where not to get themselves involved in, which goes back to exactly like I said, I will do the loop back to your question.
Yeah.
These guys, watch them. Next time you're at an airport, watch them. There will be a massive commotion and a whole wada and the plane boarding and this and that. And you will see that these guys have this certain sense of, okay, when the gate opens, my action is to go from this seat to that terminal to get onto that flight and leave. So the guy has learned his flow, let's call it that, where he needs to be and go. Where you will find the larger masses of people getting involved in everything and having opinions if the flight is 10 minutes late. And oh my God, I want to see the manager and the owner of the airline. And why is this airline doing this to me? Rather than just getting to a point of saying, okay, I'm here. They've said the flight might be an hour delayed. When the gate opens, I need to go from here to there to get on the plane and leave. Rather than make this whole commotion of, oh my God, this airline, this, that. I think the masters, and I think about the generation coming after us, these guys still haven't learned. They haven't learned this flow. They haven't learned of the direction of where it is that they need to go. So they get involved in everything sideways rather than this forward focus. And maybe it's a concept of a lot of the new, even our generation, even ours, we no longer perceive the concept of legacy as the older generations before us did. They were all about legacy. They were all about building big. They were all about building big companies, building big foundations, going to war, being known as big generals, conquering big countries. They name living in immortality. And then somewhat that's died throughout the generations, where it's more just about, it's how do I just get past tonight till tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day. And when a person doesn't have that vision of what is their legacy, of the direction they're going in and where they need to get to, and I like to even think as far as, and some people have called me crazy for this, I've even thought about where I want to be buried in life. I've thought about this. I want to know where it is. I'm going to do all of this, and one day I'll be laid to rest there, and this is what they will write about me, and hopefully that's made an impact. But if you don't have that, my brother, you know this. You get involved in everything. Somebody phones you for this, you want to get involved. Somebody phones you for that, you want to get involved. Somebody talks about this, let me jump in the conversation and talk about it also. Somebody badmouths somebody, hey, I might know something about that guy. Let me get involved just for the sake of this conversation, to be here and look cool in this attention economy at the moment. because I can see the momentum of the room is gone towards talking about that certain person. So I don't want to be left out. Let me jump into the convo. It's become very, very, very difficult with all of the attention and not attention, with all of the distractions to maintain the attention you need on your legacy. You know this. You've seen this with the guys you go and speak to in the sports sector. The guy's the rugby player. Focus on, get the ball, run to the point where you need to as quickly as possible, constantly improve that performance. But what happens as soon as he starts getting a bit of attention? It becomes about, is he doing adverts for Nike? Does he have a Land Rover? Does he have a nice house? Does he have a couple of girls? He's lost that focus. They start losing focus.
And I actually, I love that you touched on that, because and I think from an entertainment perspective, there's so many documentaries that are coming out now about sports and about the industry and about the big business that's behind it, but also about how it controls societal nuances. Because everything that, if you look at David Beckham, for example, what an amazing soccer player he is, but he was put, into the tabloids. And I mean, him and Victoria, literally, they were scrutinized for decisions. I mean, he flew back and forth, England camp, and then he went. So you've obviously seen, hopefully you've seen the documentary about,
I followed him at the time. He was going through it. I was watching the guy go to Spain, go to America, go to the UK, go back to America, go back to the UK. And I'm literally thinking, why don't people just let this guy play and be where he needs to be and just be known for what he needs to be known for, instead of all of this other rubbish?
Yeah. But then that had such a big influence on the British public and kids that grew up in the Beckham era. So how they, for example, treat their wives and their friends and their families as adults currently, literally is based on how he was treated, back then. So it's as much as it is not something that a lot of people pay attention to immediately. Everything that happens in the bigger or the broader scheme of things that has an impact on more than one person, and I'm specifically using that phrase, more than one person, because you can actually change people's lives that are right next to you. Your little domain that you operate in, your little friend circle, your little business that you operate, you have an influence, and you are influenced depending on the level of influence you guys have negotiated. Because friends and people negotiate what they're willing to be influenced on and how much they can influence people. But I feel like the younger generation, I've got so much pressure on them, and pressure in the sense that they are not forced to be involved in all of these things, but because they don't have some type of a structure or societal flow, the lines or whatever, they literally go everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and then there's a chamors. There's just a lot of things happening.
100%.
And it breaks down, I think, some of the principles that actually keep up the consistency of what it is to be a good human being. But with that being said, I want to ask what your thoughts are with regard to families.
I heard the funniest thing the other day, and I swear I couldn't even believe this thing. Exactly in line with what you're saying about guys don't know what they want to, what to stick to, what they focus on, what their legacy is, and this is what I want to be known for. You've also, guys don't want to work as hard as they used to. So guys may have a legacy now, but it just takes too much time and energy to achieve it. So let me get involved in the silly things along the way. And like I was saying, I heard something funny the other day. I knew a guy who was very well known in the diamond industry, phenomenal, great. One of his buddies was in the plastic business. All of a sudden, he's phoning around everybody saying, I want to get into the plastic business because this buddy of mine has made bombs in it. Let me get involved in it. He's invited me to get involved in it. And at the core of all of this, and I say this all of the time to my business partners, and my business partner is actually the guy that taught me it, to say it back to him.
Yeah.
He taught me that if anybody comes to you with something that can make you a lot of money, why are they coming to you? If it was so phenomenal, why'd this guy come to you with this deal? Clearly, it's not as phenomenal as you think if you start peeling it. And at the moral, and at the end of the result of the diamond guy trying to get involved in plastic, he lost money in the plastic business, and he lost a lot of time and money in his existing business because he wanted to get involved in so many things, because somebody came to him and made this beautiful Mona Lisa painting of the plastic business is phenomenal. I've made bombs, get involved in it. But my brother, you and I know very well, as human beings, if you're making so much money in your existing business, you don't invite other people. It's not the truth. The truth is that if you're so comfortable and set in your existing business and you don't need more money from outside people, you don't go to outside people, and you fool all of these guys that don't stand for anything. As an example of this guy who went and jumped in, lost money. It's because guys are not standing for anything.
Yep.
But then again, everything's also perspective. Like I just said about Mona Lisa. To me, Mona Lisa is ugly. I have no care for a painting like that. But on the other side, there are people that would kill to have that painting in their lounge or room. So it all comes down to the essential basis of perspective of, I find it very funny to constantly go down different paths rather than trying to focus on one and become your master in that one. And I know this. I went through a business that took me 4 years to build before it made any money. Do you think a lot of the people that we know would have stuck around for 4 years without making money?
No, but you see, we have to contextualize certain things as well. And back to what we discussed earlier on about being able to have grit and courage. You, as much as you don't want to admit it here, but you were placed in situations when you were a young man, young boy even, I would rather go there that far, you may be 6, 7 years old, where you've had to negotiate your way out of things, in the sense that, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I can get out of it, this is there's certain tough decisions that you had to make. And also, you had to understand how to actually control the flow of things. Now, building businesses is about how you control the flow of things, flow of information, flow of your capital, flow of your human resources, and then the flow of how you are treated in the market. Not saying you have 100% control of that, but you control the flow of that. And and that's why you build a business plan. And that's why you've got projections. That's why you have certain plans in place. And I mean, that's why you build it. And that's why they call it building a business. Other people think they just start a business. They don't know how to build a business. A lot of those guys, I'm going to start a business. Don't know how to build it. Don't know how to build it. But so a lot of the guys, when it comes to the building part of the business, they lack the belief that if I build this, it puts me into a better position to build the next block. They can't see that the house is not built by putting the roof up. It's built by this brick. So my grandfather, I like using him as an example. He was a
he was a wise man. From what you've said, he was a wise man.
So and you would say, in Afrikaans it says baksteen hoogte. Now my brother knows the story better than I do, but it's like brick height. So what he always focused on, and it must be window height. By a certain time when they build houses, it must be at a certain level. Yeah. That is the aim. He doesn't say you have to be there or there. He says, okay, cool, I'm giving you 10 bricks to lay. Lay these 10 bricks. I'll come and evaluate. People don't know how to lay one brick after the next brick after the next brick without seeing that they're actually building a mansion. You've got to be able to understand that when you're building your mansion, your palace, and all that stuff, it is going to take a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication, and a lot of planning. And you've got to stick to your planning. So I think you don't
sweat, tears.
Yeah, you don't give yourself enough credit for it, but I think you've been able to do that, and you've got a lot more to learn. I'm not saying that you the perfect businessman or whatever the case may be, where we are honest with each other, but you are building stuff that work because the foundation is right, and it works, and it can be good examples for people. And I really hope that our peers stop. Have you seen how much just in our society, how many buildings exist, or how many bridges exist, or things that are dilapidated just because people screwed up? They just didn't complete your task. You've got one job, complete that thing, and then you move on. So the plastic guy lures you in with a nice little carrot. Yeah, it's not your business. It's not your monkey, not your circus.
If the plastic guy's business was so phenomenal, that invite to you would never have come. I learned this from my partner. I swear. I would go to my partner and say, "Oh my God, we got this deal, multi-million-dollar deal." And he would look at it and turn around to me and say, "If this deal was so phenomenal, why do we have it? Why is the guy just not doing it? Why is the guy just not doing it? He could do it.
Yeah.
Do it." You see this, and this is where people distract you. They dangle these little carrots. I'm making so much money. I'm so loaded. I've got such a facade of everything is going amazing. Join me on the journey. And you're not understanding that the guy is got everything going well because there's hundreds of you that he's luring in with these carrots. That is his model. Yeah. And you sold the dream, and the dream doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then again, my brother, I'm going to have to touch base on what you said just now about expectations.
Yeah.
This concept of expectations is, if you had an expectation and it didn't work out, it's not really them to blame. It was your facade fabricated expectation on the situation that you created. And because it didn't work, it's you. You know, I've always said this. I've said this, and I've even struggled with this because I'm still in a debate about this. Yeah. When somebody comes to you that is somebody that is going to do something that is going to be unethical, we as good-hearted human beings love to give this person a chance and say, "All right, no problem. Let me give this guy a chance." But when he does that unethical thing, is it you or him?
Yeah.
It's your expectation. You knew what the man was. You know what the man's character was. He did what he's known to do. Why did you expect something different? Was it because of your entitlement, or was it our loving heart where we try to help people? Because my loving heart has hurt me plenty, my brother. Yeah. I've got plenty of stories where I've tried to help people. I've had a story where two guys that were good friends fought with each other. I phoned the one side and I said to him, "Why are you guys fighting? You guys are like brothers. Why don't you go figure this thing out and stop fighting?" And what did that man do? He turned around and said, "Oh, you sided with him against me." My good heart to help people has caused me plenty pain, my brother. That I can tell you. But again,
yes.
Guys like you and I were never not going to have a good heart. And even if an unethical guy comes to me after our episode is done, I'm still going to give him a chance. And even when he does screw me over, I'm still going to say, "God, I tried." And I'm still going to have my disappointments and say, "Ugh, I tried." But doesn't mean that I'm never going to stop trying to help. I don't want to sound like a messiah, but I'm never going to stop trying to help the lost.
So do you think then, people say that there's this messiah complex and all that stuff. You spoke earlier about the expectations. Do you think that the expectation is driven by the fact that we expect, or not expect, that we want something better out of other people? Like, you know what I mean? Like listen, it's like that similar to when you meet a girl and you've heard that, listen, she's actually not so trustworthy, she's been around the block.
She's XYZ, correct.
You know what? Yeah, you know what I mean? But then you're like, but still, I see this value in her, and maybe the other guys haven't seen this value.
Through love, I can change it. Correct.
I can change. I can change it. Do you think that is it because we are so arrogant that we think we can change people that we actually end up screwing things up? I think that's maybe it. It's our arrogance that we think we can change the world. And I'm gonna now be very unpopular when I say this. People that go about, and I said this earlier on, you've got an
Yeah.
influence. I never said that you can change the world. You've got an influence. The
You've
influence
got
you
an
have,
impact.
there we go, impact. And I know people can say, yeah, but it's the same thing. No, I don't think it's the same thing. Changing the world, according to me, is saying that, listen, I'm adamant that I'm going to make sure that this thing happened exactly the way that I want it to happen. Influencing is, I'm actually going to put forward a perspective or an idea or have a conversation, and we're going to collaborate, and then out of this can potentially come for something new. People that think they can change other people do not even give the other person an opportunity to participate. They're like, I'm going to try and change you, and then they blame the
I
other
agree with
person for
you.
not changing. They blame the
I
other
agree
person.
with you.
No, this
Maybe the
person is
other person
stubborn.
didn't. Maybe the other person didn't want to change,
Or
but you've now
you know,
put didn't need to change. Maybe the other
yeah,
person didn't need to change. They live within their perspective of what is right and wrong to them, and then you came and you started enforcing your right and wrong onto them, and because it never worked out, you somewhat blame them. But my brother, remember how I started this episode? Water off a duck's back, my brother. You've got to
whatever.
get to a point. You've got to get to a point that even if you try your absolute best with people and they disappoint you, you've just got to accept that that was their journey, that was their decision, that was their thing, and now you stick to your path on your journey. And then the
Yeah,
second thing I just wanted to say, before we jump off is, brother, this thing that you said about people and the influence and the impact they make, that further goes past them into a broader scheme of the world, such as a David Beckham. Look at what happened to us in South African history. We had a president that was proven to have stolen from people, and he got away with it. What do you think that taught people in our community? That crime is allowed in our community. Because at the highest level of our republic, a man was proven to have stolen, and he was okay for doing it. He even got support. People might even get upset with me for mentioning it, even saying that the man was proven to have stolen. What was his impact? He showed that a person at the top of our republic can get away with crime. Do you think the people within the smaller communities and groups didn't turn around and say, hey, crime clearly pays? Our main man got away with it. And if you look at our South African history, what happened before that individual was running our country, and how much laws and systems and
yeah.
regulations and structures we had compared to what we now got, where people are getting away with things very easily because of that
It's
one specific person's impact.
so. I would like to maybe add on to that and say, or just ask the next question is, was it just him though, or are there more players?
There's always more players. Always far more players. A
and
soccer
and and
team. A
and
soccer team is 11 people. There's not. Ronaldo is not scoring goals by himself. Neither is Messi. There's
and
plenty players,
there's a technical team, and there's a coaching team, and there's
and
support
they,
staff, and
and medical team, and the people that put on the bandages for the game. There's a whole big unit. Let's call it that.
and the
Behind the
biggest
front.
and the biggest influencer there, the ones that pay money to come watch the game, the supporters. I spoke about this 2 weeks ago when your brother was here as well, and we had a chat about it.
We're looking for
Let's,
heroes, my brother. I
you know
believe
what I
we as
mean?
humans, we're all looking for heroes, and then our heroes
Or
disappoint us. We're all, even look at Elon Musk. He's got
yeah,
heroes. Tesla. Every human being from the bottom to the top, we're all looking for heroes. And then when our heroes don't become what we thought they would be based on our perspective, we like to use the word "that person disappointed me," but you can carry the emotion of disappointment and say it. But again, I reiterate, water off a duck's back. Your disappointment is not external entitlement that you should even give it any energy. It should be a split-second thing. It should be, oh my God, what a disappointment. Oh well, water off a duck's back. My journey carries on. Let me focus on me. Because
or even not labeling it.
You gave it a shot.
Yeah. Or not even labeling it a disappointment. All you say is it was something that happened.
Learn. It was a learning lesson. It was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Many people don't do this though, my brother. Not many people are you and I. Many people sit with it for years. Many people sit with what people said about them in high school. Many people don't let it go. Many people don't let it go. Many people still walk around that don't know the true versions of me and who I now am versus who I was, because they've heard something biased from another person, and their opinion is based on what they heard with that biasism, whatever the word would be for that. And that is what they've chose to live with.
Yeah.
But the best people like you and I can do, and our viewers, and the best advice I can give, and my biggest, as much as I keep saying we shouldn't use this word disappointment, my biggest disappointment in life has not been people. My biggest disappointment in life has been that I thought that the world would perceive situations the same as I do. And then seeing that people don't see things as I do. That was my biggest disappointment. It wasn't the person. It was me thinking that the world will see the way others will see the situation the same as I do. And because they reacted in something that was nowhere near how I would have reacted, my disappointment was not in the person. It's become my disappointment in thinking that others will perceive the world based on my perception. And I think as humans, we've got to stop having that expectation. You can't expect people to see the world as you do. People are raised different. People go through different things. People have different parents. People have different cultures and religions. People are in completely different mindsets. People are in a dark underworld. People are in a dark underworld of mindsets. For them, it's okay to badmouth and think that the world is a problem and never want to help people. There are people of this caliber. They exist. You and I both know my history of me being through the different worlds. There are people that live in that constant 24/7 mindset where the whole world is shit. They can't trust anybody, and it's all for themselves, and they can't help anybody, and it's all for me. And then you've got people that's all about the world is amazing, Mother Teresa, and I must help people. So where's the balance in between? Where's the I must help people, everybody is trustworthy, and then you've got people in the underworld that are all about nobody's trustworthy, everyone's a disappointment, screw everyone, power is everything. There are people that live in this mindset where they believe power is everything. There is no such factual. Power is a fabricated idea by human beings. It is a fabrication of what you believe that you have a certain power. Go watch movies, go read documentaries. People that were outside of jail that thought they had power and then spent the rest of their life in jail because they thought power is everything.
Yeah. All contextual.
Okay, brother. All contextual. My brother, I got to thank you. Go, drop your last one. Come. I can't let my guest not drop his last thought.
No. There's no happy ending, because happiness is not what we look for in the end. We look for peace.
We do. This is true.
Okay.
And there is also there is also no happy ending if there is no ending. If the world is limitless and we're in a constant cycle, what is the ending? So what is the happy ending?
Have you ever experienced peace? It feels never ending.
Peace is a great feeling. I've read about it. My brother, let me thank you for your time. You know, I've got much love and respect for you. Thank you, my brother, and thank you to our viewers. We'll catch you next week. and everybody drop a comment on their thoughts, and we'll do our best
Yep.
to reply. Thanks a
Ciao.
lot, everyone. Thanks.
Peace,
Bye.
guys.
Ciao.
Ciao. Thanks.